Okay, I have decided I'm going to do a June and July monthly media favorites. I'm going to tell you about my favorite books I read these past 2 months, favorite movies I watched, TV shows I watched, and albums I listened to. And I just want to suggest them to you. I want to hear your suggestions to me. I hope you like it. I'm just gonna get started with books. What started me wanting to film and make this was The Raven Cycle. If you're on my spam Instagram story, you may have seen me talk about this series a lot. I read it in the span of 3 weeks, all 4 books. It's really, really incredible. I'm an adult who likes adult things, and this is a young adult fantasy novel. It's like a YA novel, but I still thought it was really, really amazing. It's a young adult fantasy series that follows a group of friends, Blue Sergeant and the Raven Boys, Gainsey, Adam, Noah, and Ronan, on a quest to find the legendary Welsh king Owen Glendower, who is believed to be buried somewhere in their Virginia hometown. There's a graphic novel coming out of the first book, The Raven Boys. I'm very excited. It comes out, I think, in 4 days at the time of filming this. I'm so excited. It's going to be the first thing I buy ever. My favorite book is The Dream Thieves, because Ronan is my favorite character, I think. I always hesitate saying that because I love all of them. It's hard to pick a favorite, but I really love Ronan, and this book is like almost completely about him. And then, but I would say it goes Dream Thieves, The Raven Boys, the last book in the series, The Raven King, and then Lily Blue. It's still a good book. It's just, that's my ranking of them. I highly recommend them. If you want them, I'll lend them to you. Just let me know. Yeah. Okay. I did not read a lot this summer. I want to read more. But the other book I read is called The Sunburn. It's by Chloe Michelle Howarth. Hannah and I both read this, and then we talked about it. Sunburn is a coming-of-age story about Lucy, a young woman in a small Irish village, and her intense, secret first love with her friend Susanna during a long, hot summer. The novel explores themes of identity, social expectations, and the complexities of queer love within a conservative community. It's set in the 90s in a conservative Irish town. It's been described, and I would describe it as like a lesbian Normal People, if it was also set in the 90s. It's gonna pull at those heartstrings, but also I think it has a happier ending than Normal People. I don't know if that's a spoiler. There's a book out there, or a new copy of this out there, that has a really cool cover. But when I wanted to buy this book, I got it as a Christmas gift, but when I wanted it, that cover wasn't out yet, and you had to buy it online. But I believe you can buy it in person in Barnes & Nobles right now. So yeah. I'm going to insert a picture here of the 2 books that I listened to this summer. I listen to audiobooks when I'm at work because they're really easy to multitask and do. The first one is called Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. And Gwen and Art Are Not in Love is a young adult novel by Lex Croucher featuring a betrothed couple, Gwen and Arthur, who despise each other but are forced to spend a summer together before their arranged marriage. Both Gwen and Arthur are gay and secretly attracted to other people, leading them to form an alliance and navigate their romantic pursuits and their upcoming tournament. The novel expresses themes of friendship, self-discovery, and challenging social expectations. It's got everything. It's got everything. It's got fake dating. It's got woman nights. It's got two gay dudes and two lesbians. It also really quickly gets gay. You don't have to wait, which is nice. It is a YA novel, and it's like a YA novel. So if you're not into those, you probably won't like this. I didn't love it, but it was interesting, and while working, it wasn't horrible to listen to. The lady nights, they caught my eye, you know. I think it's good. I think you guys should listen to it if you have, like, I think it's maybe 12 hours, and then I sped it up. When I listen to it, it's free on Spotify if you have Spotify Premium. It's very good. The next audiobook I listened to is called Brat. I don't have the author written down, but I'll put it here when I put the cover. Here's the synopsis. The Gabriel of this novel is mourning the death of his father as well as a recent breakup, and he is struggling to finish writing his second book. Alone and aimless, he agrees to move back into his parents' house to clear it out for sale. Here, the cliches end. Gabriel has trouble delivering on the promise as the moldy, overgrown house deteriorates around him. So does his own health. Large sheets of his skin begin to peel from his body at a terrifying rate. In fragments and fragments, Gabriel takes us on a surreal journey into the mysteries of the family home, where he finds unfinished manuscripts written by his parents, which seem to mutilate every time he picks them up. The bizarre home video that hints at the long-buried secrets. So, basically, it's kind of a horror, mystery, disturbing book. I listened to this one. It sometimes got too scary to listen to all the time. I had to turn it off. It's just kind of gross. There's like body horror in it, and it deals with grief. But it's a good story. I would recommend, and I'd recommend the audiobook. The guy reading has great cadence, and he reads it very well. Okay, next I'm going to talk about movies. These are not a full list of the movies I saw in the past 2 months. There are my favorites. I have the complete list here. I'll put it on this side this time. And if you want to see my opinions, you can look at my Letterboxd. It's in my bio. If you want to give me your opinions, I'd love to hear them. The first movie I want to talk about is called Uncle Frank. Put it right here. In 1973, when Frank Bledsoe and his 18-year-old niece, Beth, take a road trip from Manhattan to Creeksville, South Carolina, for the family patriarch's funeral, they are unexpectedly joined by Frank's lover, Wally. That is a synopsis I got off Letterboxd. I don't really think it's a great one, so I'm gonna just ramble and hope that you understand what this movie's about. Basically, Frank is gay, and we know this, like, very immediately. He has a really shitty relationship with his father, and he goes and he lives in New York, and so he doesn't see his family in South Carolina. He has a niece, Beth, played by Sophia Lillis. Love her. She goes to school where Frank teaches. Beth realizes that Frank's gay, and they go on this journey of coming home and Frank dealing with the death of his father while also having to cope with the fact that, like, his father never accepted him. And it's a really good movie. I haven't seen anyone recommend this movie. Okay, the next movie I want to talk about is Whip It. I'll put it maybe here. Maybe here. I've seen Whip It a lot. I rewatched it recently, but I've seen it a lot. This is just me suggesting it because I don't think a lot of other people have seen it. Bliss, that's the main character, lives in a small town in Texas and yearns to break free of her mother's world of beauty pageants and conformity. She sees her chance when she meets the Hurl Scouts, a roller derby team. She tries out for the team, wins a slot, lies to her parents about her new hobby. Bliss finds friendship and freedom with her teammates, but a conflict between a championship game and the Bluebonnet beauty pageant threatens to spill her secret. This movie was really impactful to me as a young gay person. It's not actually queer in any way, but roller derby is always gay. So, it's just, there's a lot about friendship and putting boys first and how much that fucks you up. But it's good, and it makes, like, my little, like, the rebel girl I used to be when I was in high school, so happy. So I recommend it. This movie I watched was SLC Punk. I'll put it here. Two former geeks become 1980s punks. They party, go to concerts, while deciding to do with their lives. They take a gap year, they fall in and out of love, they ponder their once bulletproof ideology, all of the thing a punk teenager does. And this movie was my favorite movie when I was 14 years old. And so rewatching it at 19 was really, really fascinating because you watch them at a young age say that it's going to be anarchy forever and they'll never conform and they'll never do anything. And then they go through a lot of changes and they come out realizing that might not be, like, you don't have to become a conformist if you're not an anarchist. You can find a middle ground. And I think that when I was 14, I wanted to believe so heavily that I would be a punk anarchist forever, and like fuck the institution. And there's definitely parts of myself that still feel that, but now I'm going to college to get a bachelor's degree. So what are you gonna do? I don't know. Hannah's here. Say hi, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
Yeah! Back to what we were talking about. The next movie I watched is called Haine. I'll put it right here. When a young Arab is arrested and beaten unconscious, a riot erupts in the notoriously violent suburb outside of Paris. 3 of the victims' peers, Vince, Saeed, and Hubert, wander aimlessly through their home turf in the aftermath of the violence as they try to come to grips with their outrage over the brutal incident. After one of the men finds the police officer's discarded weapon, their night seems poised to take a bleak turn. This movie is really highly talked about. It was definitely slow at first, but then the ending felt so important that I wanted to include it in this list. Like SLC Punk, it's centered around these, like, aggressive teenagers, and they are doing drugs, and they're listening to crazy music, and they're, like, hard, but they are also, like, kids. So everything they do has youth to it, even though they're being forced to face police brutality and losing one of their friends. It's an intense movie, definitely, but also just really beautiful. The cinematography is amazing, the world is amazing, and I highly recommend it. The next movie I want to talk about is Frances Ha. I rewatched this movie last night, and 3 out of 5 of the movies on this list are rewatches, but that's just because I think they're so good. Frances starts the movie with a breakup from her boyfriend, ostensibly due to her obligation to her roommate and best friend since college, Sophie, but the breakup seems trivial to the functions in that friendship. Sophie, who is a rising star in a book publishing company, is making a little bit of money and dating a man, a Wall Street analyst, who is making a lot of it. And she soon accepts an offer to move into a nice apartment in Tribeca, which Frances cannot afford. As a result, Frances, with a few crash stops along the way, becomes, in effect, homeless at the same time that she is unemployed, artistically unmoored, and friendless. This movie was just something I needed to watch because it was hitting close to home, watching like your friends succeed and you stop hanging out, and it sucks. But the movie is really good. It looks beautiful, it sounds beautiful. It's only 80 minutes long. It feels like a really long episode of Girls. And the cast seems like a really long episode of Girls, but highly recommend. Speaking of Girls, the next thing I want to talk about is a TV show I will not shut up about called Too Much. It's starring Meg Stalter, written by Lena Dunham. It's on Netflix. It's amazing. The synopsis I found says, Jessica, a New York workaholic, is reeling from a broken relationship. She takes a job in London where she plans to live like a Bronte sister, where she meets Felix, a walking series of red flags. Their unusual connection is impossible to ignore. It's about Lena's very real breakup with Jack Antonoff and her moving to London and meeting her new husband, or her husband that she's married to right now. It's really good. I haven't seen a show let the main characters be this unhealthy with each other and still be in so much love. The last things I wanted to talk about were the albums I listened to this month. First album I want to talk about is Doggerel by Fontaines DC. How could I do a music favorites without mentioning Fontaines DC? Like all of their albums, this one seems to be a love letter to Ireland. Their opening song's Big, and one of their closing songs, Boys in the Better Land, are about the band's drive to get out of the depression they associate with their hometowns, their desire to get big. As punk as this album sounds with songs like Liberty Bell and Sha Sha Sha, you get extremely beautiful melodies in Roy's Tune and Dublin City Sky. I actually cried in a Target to that song. This is their debut album, and I love romance just as much as the next person, but I think the rawness in this album is unmatched. My favorites off this album are Roy's Tune, Boys in a Better Land, and Liberty Bell. My next favorite album from these past 2 months was What's the Story? Morning Glory by Oasis. This is Oasis's sophomore album and maybe my favorite of their entire discography. I liked this quote from a Pitchfork review. It says, "It definitely maybe presented Oasis's raw materials, 60s psychedelia, 70s glam and punk. Morning Glory melted down and removed them into a towering sound that is unmistakably their own. Those omnipresent string sections sweep classically, dressing up songs like ribbons on a trophy." My favorites of this album are Hello, She's Electric, and Champagne Supernova. I wanted to talk about Favorite Worst Nightmare by the Arctic Monkeys. The Arctic Monkeys have been on everyone's radar forever, and I just started listening to them seriously this summer. So, Favorite Worst Nightmare is Arctic Monkeys' second studio album and the follow-up to the grimy, uncut, whatever people say I am, that is what I'm not. This album is an ambitious step forward in their debut with a much cleaner sound and tighter hooks. Their melodies are reminiscent of influences from Strokes and the Smiths. This is a quote from Alex Turner about naming the album. I really liked it. As far as concerns with your favorite worst nightmare, I'd like to describe it by saying it's like someone's gambling addiction. They get something out of it, but they know it's bad for them. But in the songs, it's more to do with a woman. My favorites of this album are Teddy Picker, Balaclava, and Do Me a Favor. The next album I have is Better Oblivion Community Center. I am revisiting this album for the first time since my junior year of high school, and it's been very fun and interesting because in that time I've become a real person with lived experiences. I liked this excerpt from a Pitchfork article. They said, the opening track, Didn't Know What I Was In For, is an imaginistic storytelling song that spirals out from dreary contentedness, observing a friend who says she cries at the news but doesn't really, and eavesdropping on the poolside conversations that start polite but always sound so cruel. Bridgers implicates herself in a generational sense of helplessness. I've never really done anything for anyone. In my favorite track on the album, Big Black Heart, Phoebe Bridgers says, "Your black heart is big. I'd ask you to cross it for me, but you never do it. And then again, you'd stop in the middle of the street just to kiss me." There's a lot of pain in realizing that someone will only be what they want to be for you. You can't ask them for more. You can't ask them to cross the street, but if they stop to kiss you, that's what you get. Aside from those two songs, I mentioned Dylan Thomas is one of my favorite on that album. The last one I wanted to talk about was Willow by Sloppy Jane. I'm going to read the Bandcamp excerpt from the frontwoman, Haley Dahl, because it's a perfect summary of this album. She says, "A strip club, a sitcom, a playground, and a house of God. Our debut record, Willow, tells the story of a great adventure. Willow is a girl who existed inside of a strip club in Inglewood, who ran away to the desert to hustle pool with a lion, who burned herself alive for my freedom. She was buried in a sea alongside her best friend. This piece is a dedication to their sacrifice and to their memory. The record is a work of nonfiction, and if consumed correctly, will take the listener through a journey. Please put on your tallest shoes, your air conditioner, and lie on the floor. Pick a position and don't move a muscle the whole time, even if it's scary or funny, or if it feels like it's been too long. Listen alone or while driving through the Mojave in the middle of the night with someone who understands." Doesn't that album seem so interesting? It is. It's really great. My favorites off of this album are Kitchen Store, Bark Like a God, and Peroxide Beach. It definitely has the most unique sounds out of the albums I'm suggesting, so I think it's a bit more of an acquired taste. But aside from all those full albums, here are the playlists I've been listening to. Feel free to suggest anything to me. I would love to hear your thoughts on all the things I shared. And thank you.
Bye.